Hello and welcome to episode 97 of Page 1 The Writers Podcast. I'm Tarek.
I'm Marco, and thanks for joining us on the podcast where we like to speak to writers of all kinds about their writing journeys, find out how they broke into the industry and try and get as many hints and tips from them as possible. There is a whole great back catalogue of authors, journalists, screenwriters, video game writers, comedians, comic writers, and any other kind of writer you can think of. So please do check that out if you haven't already. Before we get on to this week's guest, we just wanted to remind you that we are launching a newsletter which will give out some of the writing hints and tips of past guests, along with just updates about the podcast and what we've been up to, along with a discount code for our writer's notebook. So
if that's not incentive, I don't know what is.
Exactly. So if you head to our website, writegear.co.uk/podcast, you'll be able to sign up for that newsletter. And obviously you can unsubscribe at any time if it is not to your liking, but I'm sure it will be. But we have a great guest this week, and I'm going to let Tarek introduce her.
We have a great guest this week, and I've been listening to the pronunciation online to make sure I get it right. We are chatting with Lilja Sigurðardóttir, who is, I believe that was flawless. Of course, I
was going to be mean and get you to repeat it there, but I won't.
And so she's an Icelandic author, born in Iceland, raised in Mexico, Sweden, Spain, trained in England. She's been all over the place, and she is a scandi noir, kind of Icelandic noir author who's written some really fantastic books, and our books are now kind of started to come into English translation, so there's a lot of exciting stuff there. And yeah, it's a really fun chat we have with her. A lot of interesting stuff she's done, whereas it's plays, TV shows. It's a really interesting career.
And also the story of how she actually got into writing is a very interesting one as well. It was a competition, but I won't spoil it. But very interesting route into writing, and just hearing about her process as well, and the sort of approach that she takes to crafting these novels. And we also look at the question of, you say scandi noir, and there is a sort of stereotype, I suppose, of that type of writing coming from Scandinavia, and we chat about that and whether the next step of getting writers from around the world read in different countries is to explore different kinds of writing from these countries as well, because an Icelandic comedy might be a very different type of comedy than we're used to, but might equally be as compelling to us as their crime stories
absolutely
are.
We're definitely seeing a rise of people willing to read translated works or watch foreign films, and yeah, I mean, you're totally right. There is a wealth of stuff out there that is different than what you're used to, and that's only a good thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll get straight on with it after a quick advert for our writer's notebook, and then we'll be back at the end of the podcast with a bit more chat and to let you know about next week's great guest as well.
But for now, on with the podcast.
The blank page. To some, it's terrifying, an obstacle to overcome. But we prefer to think of it as an opportunity, a blank canvas to be filled with all of the adventures and characters in our head. So how to overcome that fear? Well, we all know the best advice for a writer is write. Seriously, get words on the page and more will follow.
But what about later, when you start trying to pull those threads of what you've written together? What about the character you wrote about way back at the start? Who was she again? What was she carrying? And where did she leave the MacGuffin that she now really needs in the third act? Think about all those top thrillers you like to read, or that amazing drama you just watched. What did they all have in common? Structure and planning.
As aspiring writers ourselves, we've tried many different methods to try and organise all the thoughts about the stories we want to tell. We've been there searching for a piece of scrap paper to note something down, or making a quick note on our phone in between meetings.
Or sometimes we'll make a note in whatever notebook we're carrying, or a document on our laptop so we don't forget that great idea. Let's be honest, it can all be a bit messy and it's easy to lose track of everything. And that's when we realised it's not just the story that needs structure and planning, but the way we gather all of our thoughts about it as well.
And so we made Page One. Page One is more than just another notebook. It's a place to put down all your ideas for your latest project, divided into easy-to-use sections that will help you plan your story, so that when that blank page comes calling, you're ready to answer. And then afterwards, once it's written, we realised you need to plan how to let people read it, so we included a section relating to submissions.
Each one is designed for one project, whether you want to write a book, screenplay, a comic, or any other kind of story. We truly believe that when you use it, it will help you get to the main event, writing your story. So we hope this helps.
We can't wait to read what you come up with.
And remember, every story starts with Page One.
I always begin the podcast with a variation of the same question, which is, did you always want to be a writer? Because I think I'm right in saying that you had quite a winding path to becoming a writer. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say, yes. Yes, when I was a child, I read a lot and I was very inspired by many books, and I really, really wanted to be a writer. But then you grow up and life kind of takes over. When I was young, I used to write short stories, poetry, and so on, publish in the school paper and that sort of thing. But then, I took an education path. I first trained as a secretary, then I studied education and worked as a school inspector for many years. And then just one day I saw an advertisement from an Icelandic publisher that were looking for a crime novel. And they said that the title of the competition was, "We are looking for the new Dan Brown." So I decided that could be me. Yeah.
And did you have something written that you could submit, or did you start writing when you saw that?
No, I just decided to write the novel. So I did that, in 8 months, during my lunch break mostly and nights, and sent it in. And this was the year 2008. And that is a very dramatic year for Iceland because of the financial meltdown. Mm-hmm. So the publisher canceled the competition because the prize money kind of evaporated, like all Icelandic money, everything in the Icelandic banks just disappeared. So they canceled the competition, but they still wanted to publish the book. And out of this competition came myself and another Icelandic writer called Ragnar Jónasson.
Oh, okay.
So this was how we both started in writing, novels.
Oh wow! So you both started from the same competition?
Yes.
That's brilliant. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and we still don't know who is the new Dan Brown. He thinks it's him, but I know it's me.
And so was that novel Steps? Was that the first one?
Steps, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so you got through to the end, and what happened after that? Did that lead to a publishing contract, or did it lead to an agent?
Yeah, well, the publisher wanted another one, a sequel to the first one. It got really good reviews, didn't really sell much, but I wrote another one and they published that one. And then I was busy working for the Ministry of Education in Iceland and doing all sorts of projects. And I was invited to take part in a theater workshop. And that led to me writing a stage play, which was then staged and was a very, very successful play here in Iceland. So for a while, I tried to become a playwright. Mm-hmm. But there is not much of a market for playwrights in Iceland. I think you can be very happy to get 1 or 2 stages during your lifetime. So we have only 3 professional theaters and then smaller groups, So I turned back to crime after a while, and then I went to, with a bigger publisher, Iceland's biggest publisher, called Forlagið, and wrote a book that's called Snare in English. And that one just became kind of an instant success. It was sold to many countries, published in many languages, and since then, I had to stop working because I couldn't do both at the same time. I had to travel so much for the books and all sorts of publicity, and then write another one. And and since then I've been a professional writer full time.
Brilliant. So I mean, I'm sure it wasn't like this, but it almost sounds like it happened by chance in a way that your career as a writer. I mean, were you writing stuff anyway, or was Steps really the first thing that you decided to write?
Yeah, it was my first novel. I was writing texts, I was writing handbooks for teachers and the sort of, professional stuff. And every type of writing is kind of a practice for a career, writing fiction, because just this training of getting your thoughts down into words, I think it doesn't really matter what you're writing, it's all training for that. And I write really, really, really fast. So that is my superpower. Yeah.
When you went on to write the stage play, how did you find writing that in comparison to writing a novel, writing a script? Because I take it that's Big Babies, which is the 2013 play, which did really well. I was reading about that. It won the Performing Arts Award for the best play of the year. I mean, how did you find writing that and then getting that recognition that it done so well? It must have been quite satisfying.
Yes. It was really nice. I mean, it's a completely different kind of a technique, because you have to get everything into the dialogue. When you are working for the visual media, I mean, you have so little room for descriptions, and you have no insight into the thoughts of the characters. So everything has to come across in the dialogue. And that's the same as with script writing. So it's a different approach, but it's all about telling stories. So in a way, it's the same thing. You want to have characters that you engage with and tell a story. But I really enjoyed working for the theater. It was amazing to work with the actors and the directors, and see something that you see your story and your text take on like another layer, and then another layer when all the other artists add their stuff to it, all the way up to the technical stuff and the music and the lights and everything, It's just, and it create something much bigger than you could have thought. It's quite an amazing thing, very enjoyable and very fulfilling.
Is it more collaborative as a process?
It is, yes. So it's like a social function. I mean, sometimes I would write like a new passage during the night and bring it to the actors in the morning, and they would try it out, and then I had to change it if it didn't sound right. It's a completely different approach to writing. Well, when you're doing a novel, you just sit on your own in my room and just control everything. But it's but it was also satisfying to get like a recognition as a writer. Is a bit of like a literary snobbery in Iceland, as everywhere. So people, because I had written crime before and mostly crime since, people were like, "Oh, you can write." It's like, you're
proper writer.
Good. So, it's just, so I don't have any kind of, I have a lot of confidence in my writing, because I know I can write a lot of different stuff. So, but I choose crime because I love crime myself.
And what is your writing process, when it comes to writing books? Do you do a lot of planning? Do you kind of pants as you go along? Is it a case of thinking of ideas, or is it quite flowing?
Yes. For me, it always starts, with the character. I get an idea of a character, and then the story kind of builds around that character. My first books, I didn't plan at all. I just sat down and started, and then just, punched through it somehow. But I realized in my fourth or fifth book that some degree of planning is good. It saves you a lot of work afterwards, later. So now I kind of plan. I usually know where I'm going, I know towards what end I'm going, but now I plan roughly, I plan the half of the book because I know when I'm into half of it, things will change, the story will kind of take over. So if I would plan a whole novel, I mean, it would be work that I wouldn't use, I think.
And do you sort of try and push through to the end of a draft and then revise at that stage, or are you someone that revises as you go? Because you said you were a very fast writer, but does that mean you get the full draft out first and then rework it, or are you revising as you go?
It's kind of strange. I have an amazing editor, which I trust very much, and the work I've been now working with for 7 books. So I don't really revise that much. I write really fast, but every day I start by reading through what I wrote yesterday. Sometimes I start at the beginning and read all the way through, and where I am now, and fix things. So and I try to be conscious of not getting into having to fix things afterwards, because then especially with a crime novel, you can end up in a kind of a time loop, and things get horribly. I've made that mistake once, but yeah, I go through the first draft, send it to the editor, and then we just edit it. It's sometimes she has some comments about a few things, but usually nowadays not about the storyline or the it's mostly the finer things, and this is something that happens, I think, with training. You get better at what you do a lot of, but I really hate editing, so I think it's also laziness. So I try to turn the manuscript in the best possible form, so I don't get it back with a lot of red ink, because I really hate that. I would rather write a whole new book than edit one, seriously.
Yeah.
and your the first book that you wrote that was translated to a wider audience was Snare, which is the first of your Reykjavik noir trilogy about a woman who's forced to smuggle drugs in order to make ends meet, and that was a really big hit. And I wondered, as someone who, I'm not sure we've actually spoken to someone on the podcast before who's had their work translated into English. How is that? How does it work, the translation rights? And as someone who speaks English yourself, do you have any say over it? Do you choose a translator? Do you get any input into it at all?
Yeah, I mean, my English publisher is Orenda Books, who is a small independent publisher. So it's always this kind of personal connection, which I think is very nice. And I mean, my foreign rights agency here in Iceland, because in Iceland we don't have agents. We have my publisher has a foreign rights agency, and they present the books to foreign publishers, and some of them buy, and then they negotiate, who's going to be the translator and all that. So that my translator into English is a friend of mine, and was a friend before, called Quentin Bates, and he is a crime writer himself. So, I mean, it's a really nice cooperation. I mean, he translates the first draft. I read it over and fix if there's, some misunderstanding or something. And then it goes to an editor that puts everything into kind of international English, because Orenda Books publishes just one version for the world English market, US, Canada, England, Australia, everyone. So all these, something that's specifically English sayings or something is taken out and replaced with something. and then I read it over again. So it's a kind of a different process because I don't really read other languages, not to be able to comment on a translation, you know. So it's a different process for English. I really like it to be involved, and it's a really strange feeling to see your own text in another language, because I recognize the story, but it doesn't really feel like mine.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, the translated novels, you know, it's a skill in and of itself, isn't it? It's almost, it isn't just a straight word for word translation. It's you have to tell it in the way that that audience is going to understand it and be engaged with it, which wouldn't work with a straight word to word translation. So yeah, I think sometimes translators don't get credit, and I know there has been a push recently to try and get them more credit, because it can really make a difference. I think there's a story about, I can't remember, was it Lord of the Rings or Dracula or something that was translated? Was it into, I think it might have been into a Scandinavian language. I can't remember which one, but it was a completely different story, it turned out, that because they didn't know. So the person had just gone off and written their own story almost on the back of it.
Yeah, I mean, for Icelanders, I mean, it's translators. I mean, I cannot emphasize it enough how important they are for us, because I mean, it's such a small language. We are 350,000 speakers, and I mean, being able to get your work onto a bigger readership is like incredibly important. So, I mean, I love my translators. I think they're amazing people, and it's such an important job that they do, because it keeps, in a way, it keeps Icelandic alive, which is a kind of a dying language, because we are able to have, you know, writers that write in the language for the Icelandic readers, and then, you know, the world, you know, other readers can enjoy it also, and so we can export some of our culture as well.
What's the market like in Iceland in terms of being a writer? Because obviously in the UK, you know, you hear stories of agents getting hundreds, if not thousands, of queries a week and all this sort of thing. I mean, is there a big literary scene in Iceland?
It is quite big, and when you think of it, I mean, we publish a lot of books every year for such a small nation, and we publish almost only in the autumn, in October and November. So it's called the Christmas book flood, because we have this tradition of giving books as a Christmas gift. So all books, crime and otherwise, is published in hardback, because they are intended as a gift. And then after Christmas, maybe in like paperback. But it's, I mean, Icelanders do read a lot, and they buy a lot of books, which is, of course, very nice for us writers. But it's, I mean, I think it's basically the same everywhere. It's like more people are called to it and have success in getting published. And then, I mean, you get published in Iceland, but it's such a big element of luck also. I mean, some really good writers never get their work translated into other languages, so they're stuck with maybe rather small readership in Iceland, and never being able to devote themselves to it, you know. And that's the same, I guess, everywhere. But but I think we have been lucky with because we have had in the crime fiction genre giants like Arnaldur Indriðason and Lilja Sigurðardóttir, who have been like, they have kind of paved the way for the rest of us, you know, of the younger writers, so we can, you know, present our work to the world, which is great.
And I wanted to ask about, you mentioned that in Iceland there's no agents, so does every author go straight to the publisher? And if that's the case, how does it work in terms of, you know, someone having your back, or who protects the authors from a publisher who maybe just gives them a bad deal? Is there nothing at all?
Nobody. No. Well, we do have a writers' union.
Okay.
But that's more of a social club in a way. But they of course give advice, and they give out like a model contract that you can like you can check your contract towards the model contract and know how it compares. So there's all kinds of deals going on, but you just hand in your manuscript to the publisher, and so therefore, because it's a lot of unsolicited stuff there, they have piles and piles of stuff that they have to go through. So that's the downside for them of not getting something that an agent is representing. But it's quite special, probably because it's also such a small society in Iceland, is that you kind of have this kind of friendship, relationship with your publisher. I mean, I feel really, really lucky to be with the big publisher, who is the far biggest publisher in Iceland. So they have a punch, and they promote your books, and they will sell them, and so on. And I have a relationship with them that I trust them, and I know it's in both our interests for my books to do good. And then they have this kind of they have this agent that they work, which is my foreign rights agent, and they work like an agency. So they work like any other agent abroad, but in Iceland, regarding the Icelandic publisher, there's just you and the publisher. So
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's not always good for the new people with maybe smaller publishers that are not quite sure how to do things and so on. So, but it's a job.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it has. I suppose I can see it has advantages, disadvantages. I suppose there's slightly less gatekeepers, but that works. That's good and bad, I suppose. As you've just discussed. And you did the what's called the Reykjavik Noir trilogy, and then followed that up with the Áróra investigation trilogy, and the last book in that came out last year now, White as Snow.
But it's not a trilogy.
Is that not a trilogy?
Okay. No, I'm writing the fourth one now.
Oh, I see. Okay,
there you go.
Excellent.
Yeah, they're gonna be 5, I think. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, awesome.
And then I had a little, not a little, but a political standalone thriller in between. And that one was quite special for me because it did really, really good in Iceland. And the Nordic countries, but not in the English-speaking world. And I guess it's because the politics are so different. It's a completely different system, and I don't think it made any sense to a lot of the English readers.
But is it different working on a standalone as opposed to an ongoing series? When you're writing an ongoing series, are you? Obviously, you're focused on the book that you're writing on, but do you have sort of ideas for a broader story or development in the other books?
Yeah. I mean, this political thriller I wrote was supposed to be a series,
right.
But then I finished the book, and there wasn't more there. I was just like, okay, now I say goodbye to you, and I'm starting something else. It's quite a funny feeling because I had, ideas, and I could have structured a whole other novel for this character, but it just wasn't, the drive, the passion wasn't there for it, but I was really happy with the book, but it was like, oh, now this is finished. Because you can plan a lot of things, but it's kind of always, for me, it's a very organic process, and my belief is that you cannot really force yourself to write things that you don't want to, in a way. I mean, you can write all sorts of practical stuff and all that, but like if you're gonna engage in a novel, which is like tens of thousands of words and it's gonna take you months, I mean, you have to be passionate for the story. It has to be a story that you really want to tell. So I feel, that's always the key thing for me. It has to be something that I'm really...
I think that can come through as for the reader as well. If a novel's been written
to fill to fulfill a contract or something, then it kind of comes through in the reading of it as well, that it's not what the person actually wanted to write. So I think you're right.
think so.
You really need to feel the passion for the story.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, with the Reykjavik Noir trilogy as well, just before we move on from that, I think Cage won Guardian Book of the Year. It won Best Icelandic Crime Book of the Year, and you sold the film rights to that as well. And I think production is due to start. Is that right? I just wondered if you could update us on what was happening with that.
Looking at the series Bible yesterday, it looks
good.
Oh, so I
awesome.
hope things are moving forward. But the film industry, it's such a slow process. I don't have the patience for it. Oh my God, I would die if I was a film director. I think I wouldn't survive it. It's like waiting, nothing happening for a while, and then something happens and you get all excited. But yeah, I hope we will see it as a series in the next couple of years.
So are they adapting each book, Snare, Trap and Cage? Is that the plan to do a film for each book?
It will be I think 10-episode series each.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. And it's interesting how they're doing it and how we are doing it, because I'm on the writing team. But we will write the backstory for each of the characters. So there will be new stuff there for the ones that have written, the people that have read the books. So I think it will be good TV. I hope so.
and with that, sorry, Tara.
No.
I was just going to say, with that, if you're on the writing team for that, and you're getting other people presumably as well writing about these characters and these stories that were yours, were in your head. How does that feel, seeing other people sort of playing with these characters as well?
Yeah, this is something that I learned from the theater, because so many writers are, protective of their characters and of their work, and they don't want it changed and so on. But I really got my training in this in the theater, and to see when you let go and give other people the chance to come in with their own stuff, it will grow. Everything will grow, and it's an amazing thing to see how it happens. So I actually love it.
Because that's what I think. For me, the fear, I suppose, the fear I would have would be someone adapts it who doesn't understand it, perhaps, or does a bad job of it. But then the flip side of that is that they stick too close to the material and they don't change it enough to fit the medium, and it doesn't land properly on TV. Because I have no problem with. I know there's a lot of folk had problems with like even the Harry Potter films, because they change scenes and they drop characters. But I think as long as the feeling is right and the aim and of the scene tallies up with where the book's going, that's the main thing. It's not going to be word for word. No,
exactly. You are so right. And also, you always have to think that the TV has its own rules, and it's own kind of media, and that has to work in itself. And then, of course, try to be loyal to the story that you're presenting. So that's kind of tricky, and you kind of have to be flex and open to that. But it's amazing. There's inquiries now about one of my other books from an Indian film company. It's like a culture that's so far away, and I was like, wow. That I think it's so exciting to see what those film producers would bring to the mix, and do to the story. It's really interesting. I love that, and I think it's either, when you are a writer, Ann Cleves said to me that the best thing you can do is just let go, if it's going into somebody else's hands, and it's going to be their creation, and you can see, your story there. But I think it was really good advice, because you have to be like ready to let your story go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And the book is always there. If someone makes a mess of it on the screen or whatever, then
Still got you can redirect.
I always find that so it makes me laugh. And it's always remakes. I get it. Like whenever someone remakes a classic film, people go mad, and it's like, well, they're not going to burn the copies of the old film. You know, if it's crap, it's crap. But they're not going to take it away. It might be good. Who knows? Like, yeah, people. It's funny. People do when they get like caught up in something or when they love something, and it's hard. They can't let, even if it's not theirs, they can't let it go and just enjoy something for what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the new version replaces the old one.
Exactly.
Addition, you know.
But obviously you've already got some screenwriting experience with Kapla, which was your Netflix show, which came out last year now, I think. And I know you wrote an episode. Episode 2 was yours and stuff. And you know, I kind of wondered, how did that come about? Was that something which you wanted to do for a while, get into the world of TV?
Yes. I've been trying to get myself into the screenwriting world for years. It's a very closed man's world in Iceland, I think you can say. But I had been working with Baltasar Kormakur on another screenplay, which is will not go into production, I think, in the next years, but it's a TV version of Independent People by Halldór Laxness, who is our only Nobel laureate. It's an amazing story, and Baltasar has dreamed of making a TV series from it, and we've been working on that for years, like really slowly. It's a big thing to take on. So when Katla production started, I was already trained as a screenwriter, just by working on lots of different small projects through the years also, and this work with Baltasar. So I was on the team, and that was really great fun. We did the storyline together, the team, and then each of us took, different numbers of episodes. And that's one of those magical things that happen. You work with the characters, you create the settings and the places and the story, and then all these other artists come in, and when you have a film crew is around 100 people, that everyone is contributing something. Even the guy spraying ash everywhere, it's like, if you've seen Katla, it's very ashy, very dark. So, and that's it creates a kind of magic, which I love it. And it's always comes out differently than you think, and usually better, I think. Yeah.
And when you're, so I think your credit with episode 2, but how does that work? You said you all work on the full storyline, then each writer or something will get an episode, but do you then all sort of have input into each other's episodes to try and make it all one voice almost?
Yeah, in a way. We go through the episodes, we go through each character and each event, quite thoroughly, and then we go off and write our episodes. And then, because we created the storyline together, each writer gets storyline credit. So I have storyline credit for 5 episodes and writers, credit for 1. So and that's how it works, because the first episode was mostly the main idea was there, and it's also a tradition that the producer gets created by credit and usually a writer's credit on the first one.
Okay.
And then the last one was changed quite a lot towards the end. So there are other writers. I was out of the project and then into another project. So there are other writers with that one. But it's even if we knew where we were going,
Yeah.
So, but it was nice. It was Iceland's, biggest TV production so far. It was very expensive, very big, and I think we are all very proud of it. It streamed really well, but it was too distributed around the world, so they won't have another series.
Right. Okay.
Or another season.
Are we seeing? Are places like Netflix and streaming services, are they really enabling places like Iceland and scandi countries or small countries that don't speak English to really kind of break into that market? Is it easier now than it was before? Are people more open to watching foreign content.
I mean, I think it has been great for us. I mean, and I think for all smaller nations, and I think everyone that's not dominated by the Anglo-Saxon, language. I mean, I find it myself as a viewer. I love TV, but now I can be watching Korean shows.
Yeah.
I could be watching something from India, South America, stuff that I would never have seen, on Icelandic TV, So I really love it. And that's the thing, like Katla, this dark Icelandic, half sci-fi, psychological thriller, from Iceland, and it streams really, really well in South America. It's like you have no idea, and people like their own things. I love crime, but every once in a while you like to be surprised, and sometimes you get like these strange, hit shows that come and from an unexpected side of the world, corner of the world. So I really love it.
Do you think though that people are starting to develop a expectation of a certain type of story so in Iceland's case, or Scandinavia more generally, a sort of noir story is commonly thought of. In Korea, it seems to be a slightly crazy, but also crime-ridden story as well coming out of there. Do you think?
I think that's true. I mean, when you look at Icelandic TV, it's all quite dark, isn't it? Just the color black just rules everything.
Yeah.
Well, it does here for the most of the year. I mean, it's getting dark out now. It's a winter darkness. You wake up in dark, you come home in dark. But I think so. This is right, and I think maybe the next step, is that. We will be seeing maybe new things coming from Scandinavia or Korea or wherever. I mean, in Iceland, for example, the series that is being made out of Snare, I think it's going to be more glossy and a little bit brighter than the usual TV that we have seen from Iceland.
Nice, because I mean, I think you can see the impact that the Scandi Nordic noir kind of scenes had. I mean, it's been growing massively for a while, obviously, but you can see its impact around the world. I think you mentioned Anne Cleeve's, like her Shetland books, for instance. They're set in Scotland, but they're very influenced by that kind of look and the storytelling of it. It's that kind of that same bleakness, the darkness, etc. So it is fascinating to see for such a small part of the world almost, but it's such a massive impact it's had across storytelling around the world. It is amazing, and it must be quite. And I kind of wonder why that is, but I wonder if it is to do with the landscape. Is it the as you say, the darkness? Does that all kind of play into that? It kind of naturally leads to a dark story.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's for us. Of course, it's so hard to realize because it's. I mean, for us, Nordic noir is just noir. It's our usual, stuff. But I mean, it's Henning Mankell, Sjöwalin Valhö, of course, introduced this type of or our type of crime writing to the world. But then I think Stig Larsson, the girl with the dragon tattoo and all these. They really broke through and became such an international hit, and that was very good for all of us Nordic writers, because people suddenly realized, we can have interesting stories, and I think, I mean, in, for example, France and Germany, people have been reading translations for years, and it's quite amazing that in France, I think 40% of everything that's published there is translations.
Oh wow!
But the same in Germany, and in the English-speaking world, it's less than 5%.
Oh wow!
So I think, I mean, of course, English is such a big language. You have everything in your own language. You don't really need translations, do you? So I mean, you can find all types of things in English, but I think maybe, I mean, because also with the help of Netflix and the streaming services, you get like this insight into different cultures, and then you become interested in the books and so on. So
for sure.
I think you have a lot of exciting stuff coming your way, you know, into the English language in the next decade or so. I think so.
Yeah.
I've got to ask about a story that's linked to Iceland but has nothing really to do with Iceland. I think the Eurovision film, of course, was was set in Iceland. I mean, how did that go down in Iceland?
Oh, we loved it.
Okay.
I mean, there's this thing in Iceland about Eurovision, and this is why the film came to be. You know, is Icelanders love Eurovision. I mean, it's like it's. I mean, if you walk the streets here, Eurovision night, they're empty. I mean, I'm not
so it was
joking.
actually a documentary.
Even the people that say they don't love it, they do. I mean, everyone, there's a party in every single house, you know, and it's such a festive moment. It's like Christmas, you know. I prepare it more than Christmas, usually. And it's, I think it is because, I mean, we were a colony until 1944. So we are, you know, very much conscious of being an independent nation.
Mm-hmm.
And we really, really like competitions, you know, international competitions. But we are really bad at most of them. You know, when you have 350,000 people, you don't have so many world-class sports people or artists or whatever, you know. So we try to do the best of what we have, and we've been very optimistic that we might win Eurovision one day.
Right.
So at least, you know, everyone just sends a team, and we have a lot of musicians, and it's been going well, but we've never won, you know. But we're hoping to. But then there is another thing, that a sport that we are actually very good at, which is handball. And now is the European Handball Championship going on, and tonight we are playing the Danish, and the streets will be empty because Danish are our former colonial masters, as you as you might guess. But it's
what's that sport? I've never heard of that sport.
No, I know most English-speaking people haven't, you know. But it's quite a European sport. The Nordic countries are quite good at it. France, Germany, Spain, and the Arabic countries, because it's a sport that played indoors. And in Iceland, we can, you know, people can train it all year long. Which, for example, football you can't because of the weather. Yeah. Football is just a summer sport here. But handball is all year round, so the kids and everyone can train all year round. And the same goes in the Arabic countries, where there's a lot of heat.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
So you can play it indoor in a cool setting. So the Arabic countries are getting very big at handball as well. So it's a growing international community, and we love it. So awesome. it's not a lot of things that we are competing at, and Eurovision is like probably the strangest thing. Every British person is like bored with Eurovision, and nobody watches it. But please vote for Iceland every single time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And best of luck in the match tonight then. You smash those horrible Danes right in the net or the goal. I don't know how do you score a point in handball?
Yeah, it's a net. You just throw the ball into a net. It's basically football, but with your hands, and it goes quite quick. So you have like 20 goals in each. So it's quite a lot of action. Nice. These big guys running around throwing balls into the net, and the rest of us screaming after.
And are you looking to sort of looking ahead? Are you looking to keep sort of working in the world of books and screenplays as well? You want to keep doing both?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I just like writing. Mm-hmm. I would love to write another stage play. I would love to write more screenplays. That is probably what I will be doing. But I think, I mean, my baseline is always the crime novels, the crime books. Now I'm writing a scripted audio series for a streaming service called Storytel, which is like audiobook streaming service, Nordic one. So I'm writing kind of a scripted audio series about Ernest Hemingway.
Cool.
Yeah. And so there's like these acted scenes in it. So it's like in between screenwriting and nonfiction, you know.
Yeah.
It's nice. So I think I always like a challenge. I like to try new things, but I think the books are always my baseline.
So I mean, are you? You've got a lot of projects on the go. Do you ever take a break from the writing, or are you writing every day, all the time?
I usually write every day, yes, but I write quite fast, so I don't write so many hours a day. I start in the morning with my first cup of coffee, and then I write, 3-4 hours maybe. Then I stop and do something else in the afternoon, because your mind is usually empty, and you wouldn't necessarily be writing more even if you sat at it for the rest of the afternoon. So I like reply and write emails and do practical stuff in the afternoon, but yeah, I think it's because it's like some people say, like eating an elephant, you have to do it in like many small chunks. Like gradually they will count.
I've never heard that phrase before.
Oh, okay.
It makes sense.
So maybe it's an Icelandic saying, if we don't have any elephants.
I like that. I'm going to start using that. Yeah, exactly.
So what's next then? Is book 4 going to be of your?
Yes, I'm finishing this audio series that's going into production. So the actors are starting to work on doing the dialogue and all that. And I read in some of my parts in the studio, and then just 1st of February, I just my time is devoted to my next novel, which is the 4th in the Áróra series.
Is there a name for that yet, or is that still under wraps?
Yes, there is a name. I think it's Dark as Night or something like that. It's nice. For the English title, and then it's going to be Deep as Death, the last one.
Oh,
nice. I like that.
Very good. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, I read Cold as Hell recently and thought it was excellent. So I really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
What was the last book you read?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because I'm writing this series on Hemingway, I have been reading many biographies of Hemingway. So I've been reading a book called The Hemingway Patrols, which is about his U-boat hunting in the Caribbean. He was a special guy.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of strange stuff. So he was looking for German U-boats during the war, and on his fishing boat. So, and he was going to destroy them on his fishing boat.
Was there quite a lot of German boats in the Caribbean?
Yes, there were actually. They were sinking a lot of like these oil ships, tankers, and so on. So they did sink a lot of ships there, as they did around Iceland and everywhere, because the German army, they had a lot of U-boats, and all the other countries were way behind, so they actually hired people with fishing boats to help search for the U-boats, and Hemingway was one of those. It's a ridiculous story, but so much fun to read. And then I read a book by an Icelandic author called Solveig Pálsdóttir, who is recently starting to be out in English. So she's a wonderful author. I think she has one out in English now called The Fox. A really good,
awesome.
Almost on the verge of horror story.
Oh, cool, nice. And what about the last film that you watched?
Last film, I think, was The Father with
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins, yeah. I think it was, of course, very well acted, and it gave you like an insight what it is to have dementia or Alzheimer's. Is like you get really confused as a viewer, and you can feel his confusion. I think they did that very nicely. It's an interesting film.
It's on my list to watch. I've not watched it yet, but yeah.
Because you get this confusion. It's like, where are we? Who is this? What?
That's cool.
It's like you kind of feel it with the character, so you're like equally confused as he is. Must be a terrible feeling to have,
Yeah, that's a clever.
Really interesting to get this insight into it, how it works.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
And what's the last TV show that you've watched or are watching?
I was watching a show called Manifest.
Oh yeah.
On Netflix, just for the recommendation of my parents, which is kind of strange because they have usually been very down to earth, and they recently got Netflix, and now they are really into sci-fi, which I think is quite mysterious. And I would never have thought this was a show they would watch, but it was fun. It's like a strange show for elderly people to watch, but
they've always been seeking that out all their lives.
Yes, finally they've got their hook.
Finally, yes.
The very, very last thing we always do is a super quick fire, either or. And there's no right answer apart from one. So the first one, and I know it's because you spend time in both of these parts of the world, Iceland or Scotland?
Ooh, difficult. Scotland.
There's two right answers. That was correct one.
Yeah, Scotland is just like Iceland, but slightly better. You know, it has bad weather, but still slightly better than Iceland. You know, it has strange food, but still slightly better than Iceland, and so on. You know,
I'll take that. That's fantastic. That's good.
Bad football team as well, but yeah. The Killing or Trap? They were called.
The Killing.
Night owl or early bird?
Early bird. By training, I made myself that way. It's not my natural state of being.
Music or no music when you're writing?
Ooh, music.
Nice. TV or cinema?
TV.
And the last one, a real book or ebook?
A real book, paper. I use both and audiobooks as well, but I really like a chunky book.
I thought you might say that after the hardback, what you're saying about the hardback.
Yeah.
Oh yes, because I quite like the idea of that kind of being a present, a traditional gift thing. That's quite a nice thing like that.
It is, and they are ridiculously expensive books in Iceland. A new book published before Christmas is like £45.
What? That's nuts. That's crazy.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts. Yeah.
Wow. No more presents apart from that then.
One gift and that's it, you're done.
Well, thanks very much to Lilja for coming on to the podcast. I really enjoyed that chat. And I mentioned there when we were talking about the translation, I couldn't remember if it was Lord of the Rings or Dracula that had been translated from English into Icelandic and had a completely different story effectively told. And I've looked it up. It was called Powers of Darkness in Iceland. It's Dracula. And apparently it's a tonally entirely different story. It's almost like
it's a rom-com.
Yeah, exactly. The guy got the commission to translate this and just decided to maybe pull out that manuscript that he always had in his drawer.
That's an interesting plot right there. A translator put his own book out instead of
exactly. There's a comedy film for you in there, I think, for sure.
I mean, it does show you the importance of a good translator and how that's definitely been recognised now. I think, which we touched on on the chat more than ever. You know, it's to the point where you're seeing their names on the covers, etc. Like it's a really important job, an unsung hero job, I think, in a lot of translated books.
I think it is because it's so. As we were discussing, it's not just a word for word translation of the original manuscript. You have to bring that. You have to create a voice that is compelling, and presumably, then, if it's the same author, that voice has to be consistent throughout all the books. So it's a full-time and very important job, and when it's done well, it can create international bestsellers. If you look at the likes of Stieg Larsson and people like that. So it's good that translators are getting that recognition now.
Is it kind of like a narrator? Like you're having that intermediary party who's coming in and kind of taking the work and changing it in some way, and if they do a bad job, they kind of could ruin the whole prose.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and it must be difficult because obviously Lilja was talking about she can look at the English translations, and because she speaks both, then she enjoys that and she can see the translation happening. But if your book is translated into, for example, Russian, unless you speak Russian, then you have no clue as to whether it's a good translation or not, and you just have to go and trust in a way that it's telling the same story, and it's not Powers of Darkness Part 2. But I think I've just had a good idea there. I'm gonna
we need to edit
apply to be a translator for various great authors from different countries, and just pull out all those manuscripts in my drawer. But no, thanks very much to Lilja for coming on to the podcast. Really enjoyed that chat, and obviously you can pick up her books. We'll put a link in the podcast description, so please do go and do that. And then next week we've got another great guest.
We have another great guest next week, Will Carver, whose book he's had a number of books, but perhaps Good Samaritans was his kind of big breakthrough novel back in 2018. And he's written Psychopaths Anonymous is his most recent book, which is just out, which is absolutely fantastic, a kind of standalone novel with some ties to his previous stuff. And he's kind of definitely a kind of crime, but kind of offbeat, weird crime.
It's very dark stuff. It's not police procedural stuff, and it's dark, but with an edge of humour.
It's absolutely and a lot of sex. If you're into that kind of thing, it's a lot of it. Yeah.
But they're really compelling books. So we chat to him about that and about the process of writing that he has, which he's doing on top of. He's very into his fitness. So he runs a fitness business as well. He was almost a professional rugby player. So where he squeezes the writing in, and gets to these very dark places. It's a really interesting
and
chat.
Raises
and
5 kids.
Will's a great guy to chat to. And exactly.
I mean, where do you find it?
Being
incredible.
a parent as well.
The guy basically
one is hard enough.
barely function. Never mind run a company and write books.
Yeah, exactly. As this podcast shows, in fact. But before we go, as ever, if you enjoyed the podcast, please do take the time to give us a rating and review, and please do subscribe and tell all your friends to subscribe as well, because that is another. I've been looking into this. That's another factor in whether we climb the charts. The more new subscribers you get, new followers you get.
People have to understand is that Marco lives and breathes the Apple podcast chart these days. It's the first thing he checks in the morning. It's the last thing he checks at night. It's just every other message from him I get is where we are in the ranking.
I'm thinking of asking, starting up a Patreon to fund a Chinese bot farm to just click and follow our podcast.
That's what the Guardian book did, I think. But sure, they did that. And of course, if anyone does want to get in touch, they can always send us an email to podcast@writegear.co.uk, or they can get in touch on the Twitter machine, which is @write_gear. And write is spelt WRITE, because I think that might have been the reason we've not been getting any mail. They've been spelling it wrong.
Might be. And also, actually, I should say a shout out for another podcast, completely out of the blue, unknown to us, the Writing and Marketing Show, which is another podcast which gives out great advice for writers, has just done an episode completely dedicated to talking about our notebook, page 1, the writer's notebook, and singing its praises, but it breaks down what's in that notebook. So if you have heard these adverts and heard us talking about it and you're not sure about it, then do check out that podcast as well. We'll put a link to the podcast in the podcast description. But otherwise, have a great week, and we'll see you next episode.
See you later.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode like these ones down here.
And if you want to get in touch, you can do so by finding us on our social media platforms up here, or drop us a comment way down below there.
But otherwise, thanks for listening, and join us for the next episode.
See you later.